Good morning. Or whatever it is, wherever you are. Oh, I need a compiler for this. We got stuff kind of working. Can I run? Well, I don't know if I want multiple compilers or what. This is main, I think. Okay, so that's our mainline compiler. Why weren't you being a problem the other day? Oh, well, this is a lot nicer than it used to be. Good like digging through the logs and then find the executable. Maybe Windows did an update that made it more aggressive. I don't know. Or maybe I thought I had changed my film version. No, it's it's the same version I've been using for months. Albeit with a source command rather than through regular path. Most of that time. Alright. Notes for this. What the specific stuff we need to deal with. I need one for source control too. Yeah, we're on the M19 branch. I've got the file there. Okay, so we need that file, which is, it's there, has to be imported. I need the JavaScript from, I forget exactly which one I got that from. Hopefully I don't need to be too closely paired up. You're probably an easy one to reference. Uh, that probably should have had a comment on it. Another package. So this is going to have to go in. If I do searching, I'm generally going to want to be in source. Otherwise, if I get into node modules, it's going to... Well, back file. I know I tried doing a search from somewhere in here, and it got ugly. Can I really have not done node modules? Well... And, there's home, and there is user profile. Oh, so that could be... User profile could be one of these. Or, yep, there we go. Really? 2015. I feel like I've updated this more recently. Okay. Okay. Am I really that blind? I'd swear I'd added things to this. Maybe it's something specific to the Vim config. Oh, well, here's NACRC. I'm not quite sure where I'm pointing to that from. We should be ignoring node modules. I'd swear I got off onto La La Land here. So. Anyway. Public. Very change. Index. Oh, no, it had to be... donate main? Okay, so there's init. There is... What's in focus? Import module? No. Big. Game info. Okay, so it's probably... Oh, I just called it Harp. Because I was just collecting all my ports there, and I've kind of moved to doing function-specific modules that are easier to move around since. Also admin harbor, which has specific little... Maybe we'll rename that later. All right, so right now you are harbor. Apparently I didn't have this indented before. Or because it's just in a script tag. All right, now I have to look at what the Elm side of this. So we expose a WebSocket ID and set of events for error connecting open close and connect close, send and receive is no data subscription. In public. This would be the main app. So we've got, yeah, no aliases or direct full imports. Running a socket event message. We track connected status. I might want something like this. Well, this is specific to a chat room. Yeah, because we got logging in, logged out. Maybe you still want something like it. Socket event ID, error connecting, open, close, message. Some connection management. Oh yeah, you guys got reconnect, which might be a good thing. Message response. I don't think I actually ever need to send anything over these sockets. Nor do I ever voluntarily disconnect. The subscriptions? Yes. All right, so main app. Watch. Yeah, you both implemented WebSocket, but you both use the same ports. Oh. But you subscribe to two different endpoints. Destinations path. Admin actually subscribes to two endpoints. WebSockets. But you're just going to be subscribing to a port. I might need a client identifier. What does port socket interface look like? Next to string, the WebSocket command. Right, so all events I think have an ID and then this. So message value, this is probably on which URL it's on. But you had multiple connections, you looking at the back of IDs. Well, I guess we convert each of them over and we see what kind of messages are coming. Well, actually, you should give our event response here. Socket event type. You're probably URL, and I was just kind of connecting open. Yeah, on URL, which we most could ignored here because we were always on the same one. So I might have to do a little bit more tracking of which URL this particular thing connects to. All right, this is going from a library module to my module. So we are going to have to, well, we're going to need an event. This the one that had donation config. Yeah, this had its own messages. Which means you actually have to import a port module to type. Wait. Uh, Actually, one of these had to be the WebSocket event, right? Ah, Probably this one. Oh, I'd actually been mapping the event out so that they all received in the same way, regardless of whether it was a timer or a WebSocket. Uh, so I could sort of redirect to that event to maintain that, but I still have to implement socket event message. So UI. Socket.id, socket.event. Mission config. Oh, you just don't subscribe to anything. We only options. Yeah, which maps this back out to the same event. I guess I can actually sort of do the little sub switch here instead of, well, I can't update the model here. Means I can't do like reconnect management or anything. I don't do that. So that code might have to. Socket event. Uh, right, yeah, this is any socket event. We need something else to trigger the connection request. Because we don't have uh, runtime magic. Like the old WebSocket library did. All right, will that compile? Appears not. Oh, right. We now have to handle it. We defined a message, we have to handle it. Socket event, and our template for that. You did a whole bunch of connection status management. You had logins, so you could be rejected. You had a reconnect, which is maybe a little bit much. Well, we also might need it if there's a disruption. Well, this is still a template for the messages we need. Okay, so error. Connecting an IRC. That updates connection status. Uh, that closes a previous connection if we had one. I should probably set up a connected status with a very, very simple type. And then we can worry about This is like, right, because this is like tracking her. And then messages, which for now, we're pretty much just going to say that's going to be a no op. We're going to get a very simplified version of this. Model is defined here. Yep. Okay, so disconnected. We don't have login rejection. We don't log in. Don't join rooms. That's for parting rooms. Technically, you can have a state where you've requested close but haven't fully closed yet. So I think we do this like desired state. Yes, then we get connecting. Close, just done. We get a reconnect message, or we're still in connect. Send to connect. That connection. Oh, yeah, so we had this whole. If we want auto channel or automatic connection. If we're disconnected, we want to go into connect state. And there's no commands here. Connected login. Desired state is disconnect, log out. Okay, so we say connect. What triggers on connect? Subscriptions. If we're in connect mode, then periodically attempts to reconnect. Okay, so connect is actually kind of part of the reconnect infrastructure. I don't think we're quite ready for that yet. I guess it'd be more of a straight up copy, but still. I mean, to a certain extent, connecting is as well. It tracks whether we've sent it. All right, menu, rounds, player selections. So you are going to have, well, these are each going to have their own connection. Admin will have to have both of them. That's going to be extra awkward. Then we have a make model, which is going to give us disconnected, I guess. And init, subscriptions used to automatically connect. So you just had fetch game, which did the initial fetch of this. I guess I could actually. Is that the only place it's called? Yeah. Except it comes back. Map error and got game info. So we can't just say, cannot use the same event for both things. Uh, and say, well, okay, after you get the initial one, then open up the WebSocket connection. Unless I distinguish this event and have like, then one function they both call or something. What the? Okay. Get the wrong key. And here's some subscription. Port socket dot open. Both got the same module pretty much. Connect. Maybe I should put those in a similar place. Well, subscribe has a certain meaning in Elm. Socket.connect is a string, so it's basically this. And for admin purposes, I'm just gonna have to correct that a little bit so we kind of keep this URL around. We can compare it incoming connect. I might actually want to write these to be a little bit similar to that at some point here. So that will make our initial connection. All right. So we get connecting. We don't really have a state to track that right now. We need to come back to some of this. Connected ID. Close. Right. So that's a helper function. And I already removed this for current purposes. We'll have to see what we also have to remember how do we like trigger events. I might have to set up some dummy push testing purposes. There we go. Yeah, you got a URL for it. And that's in there. Well, that had the connect status that triggered its other stuff. Any other related subscriptions? All right, so you are options. Oh, you're gonna have to manage which ID you are too. Okay, well, in this version of it, that's a little bit. That might be all the messages. Oh, that particular syntax doesn't work out so good. This is probably another argument for pulling this out though twice. And we might want to set up to detect it later. Oh, we still got IRC connection and like all this stuff. And I might actually have to have a module that's like connection management once we switch off which URL it is. Well, then there are things that don't have the URL, just have the ID. Yeah, I actually do need to get a pen for that probably, huh? I also need to get around to putting something in my status. News. So the idea is, and I guess I should just do that. Nightbot. There will be a couple four-way FFAs. People pick a champion, and by donating to a charity, they can spawn in units for their chosen champion. And custom. Let's see. Gable's tournament, but that might be. Maybe we should do something for the actual charity at that point. Well, maybe we do that and do a link to them. Annihilation. Tournament 2020. There we go. All right, we got rid of the IRC connections. Oh no, actually, he has success. Now, to really test this, I'm going to have to change stuff. What you? WebSocket error, internals, an invalid or illegal string was specified. DOM exception from donate main. That probably means it's in the. So what are we attempting to open? Oh, yeah, actually, we can all come through here. We've got that. Opened, closed, message. Object connect, localhost options. An invalid or illegal string was specified. New WebSocket address. Did I not start a server? Okay, so, oh, you're also serving as a static server. Possibly for development purposes. Okay. Oh, maybe web is just web and not actual. File.dev. So server index. So I guess it just will serve the files if they're there. Does that solve any, no, that does not really solve any issues. That's an empty response, not an illegal response. The get was fine. This didn't even do anything. It's an invalid or illegal string was specified. Maybe WebSocket under the hood doesn't use. I've used this library before. Well, I don't know if. Well, that's HTTP. Big replaced this thing WS server. Oh, so I can't just use one URL for this because they use different servers. I mean, I guess I could do like. And I started redoing this. WebSocket open 0. That might show up on one of these. You don't actually print out anything depending if we get a. No, connection. Maybe this is my previous attempt. I might, maybe I have something in here to like just kind of send updates. Yeah, we're in source. Oh, info server index. Maybe management is down here. There's a test. Apparently a function I've deleted. Unless I've got a submod. Require websocket. WebSocket. Okay. Uh, hmm. Redis subscriptions on message. Subscribe to. Right, I just used that for subscriptions for inter-server messaging. Notify clients. This is, oh, simulation. I didn't leave any hooks into. It would go like here. Now, the front end doesn't have reconnection yet, so it's not going to be very happy about this. How often was it? Oh, I actually have to have a set here. So that is node info server load test. Load test. And then I might have to restart you. What did history? Yeah, that's not the same as a history. Got matches. Oh, right. Foreman start once. R in win. Beating. Okay, that's just a test feed with 2. All right, so. Oh, yeah, donation create. Oh, but this is an options update that you're subscribed to. But actually, that simulation isn't helpful. In this scenario. Options change. Oh, right. This was originally from me doing lobby updates, I think. Uh, you notify them that options change. Notify clients options change. Oh, this is our keep alive message. Uh, what's 45 seconds? I mean, we can. Oh, this is itself. Okay, notify clients donations. And maybe that skips if there was nothing changed. Okay, you shouldn't have any updates there. All right, so server, poll, database. Need to work on reconnect support here. I probably should have lowered the timer, but I just want to see something happen here. Bucket message. Okay. Oh, you know what? I haven't done anything with that message yet. Probably a better thing to do would be an on connection response. Uh, app dot. Bucket on connection. On message, on connection. So this would mean that I need a better window position. You would respond immediately every time we connect, which cool. That gives us a means to test actual messages. Message. You are going to be a string. So receive options. So this used to be what we did. It generated a message. It presented a result with a string error into that message. What are you actually doing? I was thinking I might want to separate these. I was using the same thing. It's actually very dirt simple right now. Right now, anyway. So we have to decode string into a result. Get a result, which is either okay, options, or error, error. But this is the full update, so this is going to have to be in essentially the yeah, I don't have a good place to put that. I have to let again. Okay, we decoded properly. Yep, that had not compiled yet. And we also had debugging in here. Closed is somewhat irregular. Message is somewhat. All right, we're looking at the address. WebSocket connecting, WebSocket open. All right, that's something. We change an index. We added that line. Which might be more important for the other stuff, but just being able to send anything to it should be probably fine. I might actually want to stick with the message on connect for testing purpose. Yes, that will probably be useful when we're doing reconnect stuff. Ah. This one doesn't do the time-based poll. So if got game info only happens from the web request, you could actually use that to trigger the subscription. All right, because you called receive options, which is only from here. This is no longer viable code. And you mapped error specifically so we could use it in two places. So we could actually switch this out. Donation config, message. We already have HTTP. For why? I must have been using that kind of error code before. Config, main. We don't need to map error. We just do .game info. We'll debug log it. It's still a result. Think. Yeah. And now this can go back to fetch game, which we don't call from anywhere else. This is where we need to do a little bit of connection management in terms of, well, we closed it, so we should clear our handle and stuff. That was fetch game. Was that connect game? And you should notify me that you got something. Cool. Donate config basic port socket. All right. We would like to have this be tolerant of disconnects. And maybe if I do this enough times, I can figure out a way to library it, but we don't have a option to connect on this one. So we always want to be connected. I think I reconnect. Not sure we have connect. Well, maybe we do because that just then hooks into the whole retry system. Yes, this is the reconnect event. So if we were connecting, we timed out, we're back to connect, and we want to close our previous attempt. And then we have connection update. So this is if we want to be connected, which we always want to be connected. So disconnected and that does the login. So you don't actually do connection. Oh, right, subscriptions. If auto-enabled, so always for us. If we're in a... that's something different. If we're in connect or connecting, then we subscribe to reconnect. Okay, so step 1. Connection status needs the... I guess we might need connect. Load site thing? I'm presuming I put it in there for some good reason. And we're gonna need a... reconnect message, which reconnect gets a POSIX. I even have time in here. Okay, we're stuck on missing update options. Uh, Maybe I don't actually call connect on this. I just say our initial state is we want to connect. Well, disconnected should go to connect, so maybe I don't need both of these. The other app actually cared about... Wait, connect doesn't have done anything yet. Yeah, connect to URL. But that does track a time. Okay, so our reconnect message handler probably gonna look a little bit like this. Next time. I can just assume which connection it is. I'm gonna have to do... Ooh. Admin's gonna have to have a URL for which connection in... timeout, port socket tech URL. Close, connect. Oh, connecting doesn't have a URL. But it still has to issue the connect command. Yeah, so to move this towards being a slightly more abstract, reusable thing, I might need to include... Oh, you connect to... Hmm. Descriptions. This becomes a sub.batch. Like it's batch. Back timeout. Timeout. No, that is the argument. I guess this could. Yeah, both connect and connecting. No, connecting is an idea. It's not going to be easy to pass through. A connection status might have to have the URL it was responsible for. All right, where are we at syntactically? Given that imported time. Options connection. All right, so on close, connect and connecting. It was closed, fine. We still want to connect. If it was this wasn't my only all close if current does. That put it to disconnect. This puts it to we want to connect. Okay, we compiled. However, well, I guess subscriptions is what takes care of that. Chat connection. This takes us from disconnected to connect if we want to connect. For connected, it takes us to log in to join, joining to close, close, channel, close. Yeah, I don't think we need this layer. This is actually making me think that like disconnected and connect are not are kind of the same thing in this other app because it's just always on. Going to disconnect. Current connection ID, which I don't think I run into yet. The only thing is that we don't want to connect yet, and we do want to connect yet. So this also would really be, well, this might get used. Got closed on us. I think these might kind of be the same thing. This is always going to want to reconnect. But this needs to preserve the timeout. And connect gets initialized. With what? Is it possible? This is Elm 19.0. Oh, this is Elm 19.0, so it might not have been as strict about name aliasing. No, I don't see a definition for timeout. Where do I bootstrap this into the system? Like, where do you get a timeout from? Oh, no, you get that from the previous message. Timeout. Connecting timeout. Reconnect time. Connect timeout, reconnecting timeout. Initial reconnect delay. So this is where we first put ourselves into go disconnected to connected. So there's a little thing that we've got running right now. And that only does disconnected to connected. So any point would have gone to disconnected, we would have to go. You've got a timeout. You've got a timeout. You've got a timeout. You don't. And you've got next game. Oh, you're just the port call. Well, reconnect will should take care of sending. Yeah. So you want to say, I'm gonna make this a little bit. Hmm. That message. Uh, options. The disconnected gives us the one state where we don't try to run reconnect right off the bat. I'm actually tempted to say this should be. Well, yeah, we only have one reconnect right message right now. We're going to have to work on that. Initial reconnect. Oh, this has to do a model update to connect. Right. This does nothing if we're in disconnect. Hmm. Okay, it compiles. Invalid or illegal string was specified. That was options URL. And there goes the reconnect. I guess that's a test of that system. You aren't printing on message. Nope, you had not recompiled yet. We did get that. Then, if our you're not the server. If our server goes away, like progressively longer times. Oh, no, reconnect had... I should probably see if I could do something to centralize the URL. That's like 3 places. And we've got the variable for it, but still. And we reconnected. All right, so that is some kind of basic reconnect. Okay. Now I know that I don't have to port this to the donation feed, but I have to at some point I have to port this to admin, which does both this and the donation feed. So I want to try and encapsulate this status tracking a bit more. Well, no, I guess if I have multiple connections, I can do an ID index thing. An ID is an int, should be comparable, and put it, well, I don't think in a dictionary that useful. When we get a message, we have to know what the message means. So I could match on my 2 connections to see if any of them is connected ID. All right, so options, WebSocket. Why do I have this in so many places? When we get game info, we have to initiate the connection. When we get closed while attempting to connect, we want to bump back to where we had that URL in there. If we do a reconnect while connecting, we want to immediately send a connect. The 2 of these are wall connecting. And this says close if current, which also I set up to do that. So why do we need URL? Well, I think the answer is we wanted to be able to wanted to know what to reconnect to, but we're not really. That's the only thing we're using it for now. Reconnect. So reconnect pulls out the URL from connect. And that is the only place use it. an options connection which knows it's you. Well, if you did this, you'd have to have the function that sends connects needs to know the URL. And it's basically this reconnect handler. So if we took this out of, I was trying to make the type like its own thing where it's like connect to URL, and then we've got an ID. But if something happens to this connection, this type will not be able to handle a reconnection attempt by itself. Unless I put the URL connected to every. Or we just kind of pass the URL into certain handling functions that can actually trigger this stuff. Like you're just setting a state. You're ignoring it. You're just setting a state. You were actually using it, we're pulling this out here. Then had to use the URL from elsewhere anyway. You were ignoring it. This actually makes things the same again. However, this thing assumes the connection, so it's still a little bit of a problem. Right, because we're in this state, we already have the was ID. Still, we only. That does not compile. Too many aren't connect URL. Use it for that connect call, but not for, we don't actually need to hear. Valid or illegal string was specified. Which means I did URL again. There's only one place now. Socket open. Yeah, I don't really have anything that confirms it. Oh, did I end up with two connections? That was somewhere in like the 2000 window. Well, WebSocket 1 got closed there. WebSocket open, WebSocket open. I only received one message. Oh no, I received 3 messages. So we are not properly sanitizing our outstanding connection. All right, well, that's going to be a bug. Yeah, there's two different ways to look at this problem. One is we have specific connections, and when you pass that connection, you can always pass the URL that you want to connect to. And the other is that you might just have a big pool of connections that all know their URL. For this app, there are two very specific connections we need. It's not some big pool. All right, so the situation we had. The one failed. We got a closed on 2. I need to know which ID these messages are coming. All right, so 1000, 2000. And that also breaks it out so you can easily see how much. So WebSocket 0 was closed. Connecting 1, connecting 2. 1 successfully opened, 2 successfully opened. We got messages on 1, 1 again, and then on 2. Oh, right. Okay. So one of the duplications is because the server implementing a function for testing purposes by all clients. But we shouldn't be 2 clients. We get 1, then 2 connects, and we get notified again. We should not be 2 clients. That might be from the JavaScript. Now, WebSocket connecting ID. This is the notification that we received the request. We have actually initiated the connection. We got success events from both. This should be where time elapsed. So we're connecting, we had reconnect. When we did reconnect, this was supposed to issue a close. Oh, model.options connection, reconnect, connect. You were supposed to close the ID though. Aim in on connect. They're both going to try to connect. We shouldn't have come in on the connect the second. Assuming a connecting was issued. Well, connecting one should have. Oh, no, it's closed. Connect. Oh. Is that a problem with this code actually? Or did I just not, or did I take some stuff out? Oh, yep, I took some stuff out here. Because this dealt with stuff I didn't support yet. Really, we need to support this. All right, so option connection was connect, which no longer has a URL. It goes to ID, okay, connecting ID timeout. Connecting ID timeout. We update the ID. If it appeared out of nowhere, then we try to record it as best we can. Otherwise, we need to pull the ID out of wherever the heck it is and close it. Places that I use current connection ID. Just there, but it's just, well, this had a lot more states than I'm currently working with on the new one. So I might not need full subfunction. So you would do connecting ID port socket.close ID and connected ID as port socket.close ID. And this is a little bit dangerous. Next, actually specify a state. This is the message. Yeah, this is the message we need to send. I guess the danger of not being complete here is that if we add another ID state, that's kind of why I did map ID, but we only use it at one point. Oh, connect. We had a timeout. We didn't have an ID to close. So it did sort of break up the anything with an ID versus the what do we do about it? That will actually track our connecting state and issue proper closes. Oh, we're in a thing that has an ID. That may have been another side benefit of doing that. Okay. No, I lost this somehow. Oh, this is a much more involved thing with a slight type, connecting, connected. And actually, we do kind of need some of this coding. And that can be wrapped up in like a close of open something. That's not a good strategy for dealing with this in the case that we have two connections to talk about. That compiles. You're not the server. Now we get 1,000, 2,000. Okay, and we actually saw it was interrupted while the page was loading. We only get one message. What did we kind of have on for debugging? I might have left some stuff on from the previous. That was that. That was that. Well, I mean, this is for everything. Um, All right, so what does it take to streamline this? Is we move it into other apps and eventually into something that has to manage two connections. Maybe I should have done admin first. And that might be reasonable. Get options into there, rewrite that, and then I only have to update this one to deal with, just kind of maintaining parity. Now, that may not even log into anything. And you're just using local. Yeah, you don't do anything until get our paste buffer. So maybe for development, I should have that just default in. That is probably all polling and initial fetch right now. Where do we do that? Probably it's just a maybe in the initial model, but I might not have a thing that like says, okay, if it's there, go fetch it. Man none. Make model. Non-secret key. Okay. Well, it's probably a good time for a break anyway. Uh, hmm. Yeah. Way back a little bit. Oh. Power supply. Aww. That kind of ruins the moment a little bit. So it works, but the vehicle printer is really expensive.
Back and watch the tape. Oh my god. It was there. It was there. I'll make a clip of it. It was totally there. Oh my god. What if there wasn't anything there? Alright, I feel much better. Like,
Jump! Woo! Jump! Jump! This is great! It's jump rope! Yeah!
I don't even know what we're doing. But if you think it's fun, I'll just humor you.
breeze outside. Oh! I'm really glad we read that note because I thought we picked this place clean. This rifle cleaning kit is what I really wanted.
Anymore.
Offered me a new pair, and they are turtle beach. So far, I don't complain. Right? Good thing you said that before I did. I would.
You know, these caves aren't so scary anymore. I thought I was gonna like die instantly from coming in here. As long as I don't blow up all these plants, I'm good. As long as I don't like mine them out. Even then I don't die from it. It just hurts a little bit. Oh. Oh. Wait, did I just died. Oh. Oh. I didn't think I'd die because the last time I blew one up, it didn't kill me. Somebody please clip that. Please, somebody clip it.
All right, we're back. Refill water. Have a little bit of food. All right, view messages. Does it have to be some kind of subscription because it's coming from a... No, I guess that is kind of a UI event. Set key. Command.batch fetch game fetch donation. That's the synchronous version. Actually, subscriptions. Oh no! That was set up to listen regardless. Only that for sending commands. Interesting. So does that mean if we received an update on the page? Well, it showed the UI. I wouldn't actually be able to send messages. Okay. So maybe the way we do that is set key for quick and dirty testing. Run comment. Maybe the UI doesn't show you things unless it's set. Hmm. Oh, it hadn't compiled. Yeah, so that's... I might... Even though it can't do anything, I might actually... want to switch that. Because what I really want to do is have the server push this on connection so that I can see that we're connected. Maybe we shouldn't do that. All right, so now we're sort of in the same project. Don't have WebSocket. These were not really sorted either. Oh yeah, parts like what we which that was scrambled around. AC. Yeah, these are all the port stuff. Okay, so that's reconnect, which we're, I guess at this point, it should be close enough. So get one of the things connected. That's gonna be that one. We've got options. Got a fetch game. Yeah, we got a fetch game. Does your not game info do more interesting stuff? No, it does not do interesting stuff at all. Probably make terrible changes. What's your message? Oh, switching backwards for some reason. Ah, I put it down with update. Okay. Result.map error. Receive options is part of this old thing. Where'd that? So we'll get that as part of the socket event. So yeah, so initially we'll have to implement this just for the one socket, and then we'll have to figure out how to generalize. What are you? For editing stuff. But that is not. How is that even a subscription? Match subscription. Matched model. That's a different matched model. What's lowercase matched model? Harbor exposing all. Okay. Oops. Port socket, you need donation config message. Got game info, we updated. We're going to need these two. We're going to need a connection status. We're going to need an options connection, and eventually we'll need a donations connection. We'll go into make model. That was triggering on turn from initial fetch. Might work. You triggered off the fetch game to get things started, which actually would, yeah, that will actually. Redo this again. And then eventually we'll trigger it off from something else. So actually this needs to. No, on the other one it was fetch game, then we made it a patched stuff. Maybe we'll look at the diffs later. Yes, we updated some of this. All right, so got game info. Doesn't need that. We put this stuff down before view. I must have moved that one into the view. That feels out of place. All right, so socket ID, error, options, connection. Closed. Oh, this could be a current ID again. I think I used to do different stuff. In the other one, I did different stuff. This one, I don't. So that's possible room for rework. Oh, I left this in. Might need that later. And really, I kind of left this in. You don't actually need that for debug it. Pretty much all connection stuff. 20. And then we added these. Because these are actually sort of like update support functions in practical use. And then I think we already kind of touched on subscriptions. Architect POSIX. So you need time. A mess. Oh. Okay. That's you. Ah, we have a message function. Which gets used exactly once. What do? We get a body. Self-signed request. Which takes, that was the signed message from NACL. So you're going to go request that. That is the port package. ID, body. The message here is just ID and data. Right, we'll have to update discounts in somewhere. Code options. Now you were using rounds before. Expect rounds. Okay, so we got you to compile. Got your information. Connect is not connecting. Oh, because I haven't installed the JavaScript support in you yet. Donate main buffer. Admin main. Admin main. Just hadn't opened it yet. Okay. All right, so we've got a couple of different little packages here. We've got donations and we've got an ACL. Oh, that was just the admin harbor. Probably this one. And we received a response. So that is very, very basic installation. Options, socket running in admin. Now. Or we want to get this to the point where we can have two sockets running. We're going to get a ID, and then we need to know if that matches one. We have to decode the ID out of. And we're going to have exactly two. Makes sense to have a rather than like. When I get a message or an ID, I have to like decode into the status to see. We're also looking at this thing as being essentially the same. Well, this does have an if statement in it. This closes unconditionally. This closes only if it was the same ID. In case we kind of got an asynchronous thing going on. But what you're doing here in this statement is just pulling out the current ID. We're doing exactly two things. Oh yeah, and that's a maybe. But no, it's a maybe with a... oh, this was command only. So this is going to be... model. Maybe dot and then given. So if we got an ID, we care if actually is this just closes current? Oh, that does need to update the model. Oh, and you're not sending a command, you're just updating the model. So some of this applies. So get the current ID. It's a maybe. If it's there, then we can apply. Fortunately, the curry order turns out to not be useful as good on this. To do that, this would become a app. Oh, actually, you're a full response. Well, this still has to map to model that. Yeah, so if I flip the argument order, this could go right in. Of course, that needs some abstraction as well itself. So if you did that, then just do that. I guess that could be awkward. Well, heck, this won't be wrong if the arguments are reversed. No, it's not that big a deal. So we only receive these events once. And we want to have things that operate on this connection status so that much of the stuff can be extracted out. In a way that we can, well, operate on a connection, but you also have to look at two of them to figure out which one. All of the functions could match into the status and it has an ID. Oh, maybe that's why connect had a string. So you knew which status to update. Connected doesn't have a I'm gonna have to pass it around more strings if I want to be able to handle. If I made it a serial thing, I could say there could only be one connect. Know what a connected event. Or we have to pass our own little tag JavaScript system to say this is relation to blah blah blah. Request below. Either have to pass the URL around, which would work for this application. One, or we have to have an provided ID, rather than just the connection JavaScript. Because then the connection has an identity through and through. All right, so working towards that, all of our socket ID functions that do something, we prefer them to be functions from connection status to connection status. I guess we have to deal with side effects. And didn't the map recently do some abstraction of that? Well, it had a remote data, which was a little bit of a thing. And these things are kind of remote data. I guess the main thing there is like loading an error status. This is bigger than I thought too. What did I implement? Now I finally got to a point of doing some abstraction. Maybe it's only in some of the sub functions that Add update, add command. This is the only variance I use. Use a command, and then that adds that in. Apply a function, and then merge any commands. Okay, so that we might want to have something like that. Something like this. This updates a single connection. This is a connecting event. So this is one of the places where we're going to need some way to identify which connection this is for. But just to abstract this step a bit, we would have this be a function of connection to connection that updates in its internal status. And possibly gives us a close command for the previous one. And so far, I've used different connection types for 2 different apps that are using this, so I don't know if I can quite pull that into port socket itself. Model, receive, update, descriptions. Never quite sure how to organize files. So this is the event connected. And we get an ID. That's about it, right? Port socket, no, that's that. Port socket. And we're looking at connecting. Oh no, okay, so we have actually this does have an ID and a URL. That might be why I had that in connect. So the top level event gets a URL. So you're going to have a port socket.id. You're going to have, and you're going to take a connection status, and a WebSocket command. Possibly a close. I mean, this is technically an abstract kind of message, but the use context of it might further restrain it. And what does this deal with? If we did something like this, so this is only adding a model change or a command change. This, we'd actually have to have something that does both. Back over that. Could be a little bit like my server update. All right, so you are new connection status and the new command. Now, I sometimes applied those to servers as the object. Model, 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 model. I applied something to a server as an object. Require arcs. That's an add update. And blah, 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 blah. And then we pull it out and do other stuff with it. But this was just written in very generic terms. Then I might need a function that specifically does, okay, update this connection in the model and mash up the command. The intent is for this to replace this bit. So let equals socket connecting ID URL model.options connection. And then you turn, no, actually sort of this. And then maybe there could be a helper function since several of these things are going to, whose like main purpose is going to be just to do some logic on a connection. Of course, we still have to deal with the how do we distinguish connections part. Find a model variable. Oh, the extracted code. Case model. Okay, that compiles. No complaints about passing through that state. So that's a little bit of abstraction. So we've got connecting. Let's see if this pattern actually does repeat. open is pretty trivial right now. There's not... Won't need to get too complicated there. WebSocket closed. I mean, maybe you could make a helper for that. Given this connection... Well, close if current wants a model right now. It's down to one use. And the reason it needs a model is because of status. So this would be, yeah, this would be a connection function. Setting it. And this is one of those places where if we get to, well, we still haven't solved the thing of find which connection it applies to. That's only going to have an ID. What about current connection ID? No, 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 no. No, 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 no. We want this code effectively. So you're going to get socket closed of ID connection. That was only past the connection. Close if current. So this whole thing is returning a model. Close if current. It does update the model. So if I were to redo you as a connection status thing, you could technically figure out if this ID matches internally. So we've already gone to the trouble to do that. And we're either returning that or connection. You're a command none regardless. You're just convenient to use as a terminal. Maybe it used to be sending the command? I'm only using this in response to an already closed event. So you're only a model update. Also, because I'm currently using this in a map situation, so the connection isn't the last argument. Although traditionally things that update like this would be. Yeah, so I feel like these functions could use some rewriting. Get the ID, close if current. Maybe dot map that, give it a default Current connection can fail. If it's there, if the ID matches. Note that one is closed. And we set this thing up to return a mostly for parity with the other setup, so we could maybe get these all as a family of things. But right now, you're actually only a connection status. In which case, we don't need to worry about that. Socket closed. ID, connection status, connection status. There's a model. That's only going to come up if the, well, we can simulate that. Closed. Reconnected. Okay, that socket closed. This was like a model update only scenario. And there's message. Okay, so that gets rid of most of the code for most of the thing. Now, message handling is going to be very specific to each connection. So is going to update the data in there, is not going to send commands. I don't think anything in this app is going to send commands. So based on the ID, if I want to have a general function that does stuff to the connection we got events on, it's going to have to be able to get the connection ID of if matching connection ID. And then we have to deal with how we deal with connection startup. We'd probably like to have the rounds bit at least have its own little function. And right now you are a model update only. So what are you going to be? You're not even necessarily a socket operation. You don't really deal with the ID. We assume we took care of that above somewhere. Message is a string. String model to new model. And then you don't have commands. Oh, I thought that might work back better than it did. You're going to be update rounds. Message model and command dot none regardless. And this came from downstream of that. That's some abstraction of the socket events. Reconnect. I guess the reconnect message could actually have the URL, and that's the only place we need it. Well, no, I might need it for connection failed detection type thing. Or some kind of identifier. If we get a close as an ID, get a connecting, might connect need string to identify which one. So I think we're going to have to go back and put that back. But reconnect. I think I can actually manage reconnect by putting this as a parameter to reconnect itself, and then the thing that is calling reconnect for a certain connection says here's the URL that thing was trying to connect on. That puts this in two places. Or I could have two messages for it, but I think... Well, no, this has to know which connection to use as well. Which connection to update. We're attempting to connect. We probably don't have an ID. So it would have to be... case of that connection, update this connection, and possibly send message. If I made this a function, then I could have two different reconnect messages. Wouldn't necessarily scale well to... Well, if you were doing lots and lots of connections, then you'd presumably have some sort of structure that they were indexed, and you could put that in a single reconnect handler. The step one of this is we do something like... You need the timeout. think that's a float. And you are up. Oh, you're updating the model. What's the only thing in the updating your models? This is a connection status function again. So you go to connection. This just is your is the field. And the timeout comes from here. Oh, reconnect itself probably gets a time. I don't think we're using it. It's a time event, so it gives you the time. Don't even need all this. And it really just comes down to whether we close the other one if we have an ID. And then you are... Else we want to be disconnected, or we want to be... Or we're already connected. I copied this from a larger app, so hopefully that's... Reconnect URL time. Yeah, we don't use this. So this would be socket reconnect to URL. Let and this is where I might want some helper functions to deal with all these things. In not all options connection. So if I'm doing a update like this, it's going to have to be specific to each one. Did I not update this reconnect? Not. All right, we actually connected by the reconnect mechanism. Yeah, that was that. And we reconnected, okay. That's still working. Some slight abstraction. So we've got we've got to rewrite. You're basically the same thing as there with a different function. And you're kind of like a reader and a writer. Well, maybe I just have to have a function for each connection. Stuff. So those two could use that same thing. And we're gonna, and like, the idea is that this will become connect option. I guess at that point, we do drop this. And then you have the options WebSocket URL. Okay, so there was reconnect going off, and it triggered. So I don't think we can pull out like you have. Well, I mean, I could pull this out into a little sub update function. But the way we have to manage, well, you had socket event ID. The one case you wouldn't be able to deal with is connecting. You wouldn't be able to match that to, like, pre-match that to an existing ID. Say, this event relates to that thing. Can I only have the URL in the case that it's connecting. Essentially match that up. Could not do a general purpose socket event ID blah. This is making me want to like pass my own ID to these things. I think the idea was, well, if you've got the URL and we send the URL back, you can figure out which one is connecting there. But you cannot do sort of that general purpose upfront routing. Thing here, well, see, okay, so WebSocket error, fine. Connecting is going to have to figure out which one it is by URL. And then open, close, and message are all going to have to figure out which one it is. So I guess we could have our own local functions that are match connection by URL, match connection by ID. That will give us a connection, and then let's take a function that applies to that connection. Well, update rounds needs a full-fledged model. That one will be a little bit special. Open and close are generic function. Connecting has to be by URL. Error just essentially like try to record. That might just be a good place to. Something to sleep on, because one way or another, writing that is going to be a bit of writing and possibly rewriting. Well, no. If I did just like an enumerated thing that I passed in, then that wouldn't really translate to JavaScript. Hmm. Yeah. I think if we were just, well, if all the apps were single WebSocket, would be just this one is running two different feeds. So maybe I should really have an events feed, and there's something to distinguish the messages that go over it. But then I'd have to have a mechanism to say, what am I interested in? Back to one URL and determine what I'm subscribing to. I suppose that could be there's just a URL for both. I just have to update the server code to send both of those updates to that set of subscriptions. So we're actually kind of running into something like one of the ideas that's been thrown around for managing ports is you really only kind of have one port that you sort of send distinguished messages through. And I don't know if they were thinking of like instanced things like connections such as this. But being able to abstract over all this connection management does, well, I guess I kind of want this to be a sort of general purpose WebSocket implementation. So we should have ideas about how to do that could maybe get pulled out into some general purpose code at some point. So it might be, so yeah, single connection might be the overall easier way to do it. And then it's just like internal messaging to figure out which message you're getting. But this is an exercise in how do we make an interface that can handle multiple WebSockets. That's it for now. I want to have lunch proper. Thanks for watching. Thanks to everybody who hosted me. What do we got going? About when I'm usually on. Now, at some point I might be back to Step Mania here, but I'm currently on doctor's orders not to do any serious exercise for a while. I mean, I think we're getting to the end of the main recommendation, but it might give it some extra time. And of course, at some point it'll be spring, and I might be back to bike riding. That's the reason why some of the recent ones were a little bit later, because we did like another 45 minutes. Somewhere someplace cool to hang out. Fred Gant is also doing some programming. I don't see what project he's working on right now. And last time I was there was some pretty loud music. So if you don't like music, be advised. If you do, hey. But that's someplace cool to hang out. Thanks for hanging out with me. Goodbye, and until